Hello, we're going to talk about colonial government today. We finished up with the Enlightenment and the ideas of Locke, Hobbes, Rousseau, Montesquieu, and kind of the impact they had on American government. Uh, in looking at colonial government, each colony had a governor, which was usually appointed by the king. They had a legislature, which was partially elected, partially nominated by the governor. And they also had a system of courts. The British believed that all colonists owed their allegiance to the monarch, um, and that can be seen within government uh, that was around during the colonial period. So, in looking at that, farmers, they could be heard at meetings, but if you were a woman, if you were a slave, you could not vote. Every colony had a property qualification that was needed in order to vote in any election for the legislature. One of the key features of the colonial governments was a written constitution. The Mayflower Compact was written in 1620, and it was the first written constitution. Okay, the people agreed that they needed government if they were to survive, and they agreed to choose their own leaders and make their own laws. In doing so, the Massachusetts Bay Colony was created 16 years later, and it was really the first colony. It was created by the Puritans, but this precedent of written plans of government or written constitutions was instituted with the Mayflower Compact. Now, the first written constitution or charter was Connecticut, and that was 1639. So the first written plan of government was the Mayflower Compact. In Connecticut, that's when you had the first constitution or charter, whatever you want to call it at this time. But it was called the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut. And people had the right to elect governors, judges, and representatives. And it really set an example for the rest of the colonies to come. So after Connecticut, colonies started creating their own charters where legislatures and the courts could be reviewed by a committee of the King's Privy Council. And all you need to know about the Privy Council is it was a group of advisors to the king. So if you look at it in today's terms, think of it as the president's cabinet. Divided the power of the government among the governor, the legislature, and the courts. So you see Montesquieu starting to creep in here with the separation of powers. Legislatures needed to create new laws to deal with new circumstances. So whether it was city planning, building roads, schools, courts, or distributing land, new laws were created based off of these written constitutions. These constitutions were also a combination of English heritage with what was going on in the colonies. And it really kind of forms a sense of, or I guess it really makes them the leaders in representative government during this time. Around the world, you see monarchies are put in place, but in the United States, you really get a semblance of people being elected and serving as representatives to the colonies.